Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for requesting this private session that Kara and I are getting ready to do. And Kara, what do we want to focus our round on today? I know you talked about something real estate related, maybe even with the shifts in the market. So what would be good to work on, do you think?
Yeah, I think for me personally, maybe with the shifting market, how do I continue to grow and expand and reach more people when people are kind of scared about the market? And I think that might also translate to people in general, I think, are worried about the overall market and
Sure.
like what's going to happen in 2023, so
Okay. So here's
um
where we have to go for the negative stuff so we can root it out. So when you think that you
okay.
can't grow right now or that you're not going to be able to reach more people, what are the thoughts that you have about that? Or the thoughts that you have about the current market, the negative ones?
The negative ones. So
Yeah.
negative ones would be like all the stuff, the media, right? Like the sky is falling,
Mhm.
prices are dropping, um, the like just the other day, my dad was like, well, you're going to be pretty slow going into the next year,
Thanks, Dad.
because, people are maybe not making decisions. I was like, well, thanks for, I actually said to him, I was like, well, some people may, but not me. Cause I was like, I'm not going to take that in, but that those are the things that people are, that I'm hearing. There's also just in realtor groups, I think there is negativity or even in our own office, I think people will say, oh, the market's shifting. There's not going to be as much business. Um, you're going to have to adjust your expectations of what's possible, because it's just going to be different. So
Gotcha.
those are kind of conversations people and of course the media
Well, and as
saying
somebody, I know you're very
that
into law of attraction and stuff like that also. So is it annoying to you when people are set in a belief that is not a fact?
yes. Yes, because the Louise Hayes saying always kind of like pipes into my brain, which is that may be true for them, but it's not true for me. So I always, but sometimes that stuff still filters in because you're still hearing it. Even though I've done a lot of work um, on that and not necessarily taking on other people's belief systems because what may be true for them is not necessarily true for me, but it still kind of is there and part of the chatter.
All right. Any particular negative thoughts around interest rates or the home prices or seller opinions or anything else?
Yeah, like what's going to happen with interest rates? I mean, that's a big question. We never really know. Are they going to go up even further? Um, are are people going to want to sell? Are there maybe helping people and helping adjust their expectations because they might have, people may have some expectations from last spring, which is not what the market is right now. So like, how do you help navigate those different emotions and things like that? Yeah.
Are there feelings, and this could be personally or just with real estate agents as a whole, that clients don't really want to hear from you right now? Or that people aren't really as interested in doing this work right now?
Yeah, I think overall there's the yeah, like do
Like you were so popular last year or the year before because everybody wanted to do all the things, and now it's hey, it's me.
right, right, exactly. It's like, how do you stay relevant? How do you stay top of mind? Do people really want to hear from me right now? Um, yeah. And then separately, and I don't know if we can lump this in or not, but how do you um what are the I don't know if this is appropriate to include, but like what are the best ways to grow? Like how do I grow my team? Um, am I a good leader? Do people want to work for me? Like all those kind of fears that kind of come up or limiting beliefs on leadership and growth.
Okay. I think we can work all that in. I will say, EFT loves specificity, which is why I get these details
Okay.
and I say that mostly because you're going to repeat after me during this, but for people who are listening, if you are, if you're an agent and you have specific feelings, then say those specific feelings if they're different from what I'm saying, because it's going to
Got
be
it.
really important that you speak to those. We're not going to confuse people by having you change the words, but at home when they're listening to the recording, if you want to change the words, if you're feeling something else, just do that, because that's the best way to get yourself unblocked, is to be genuine about what you're saying and feeling. At the same token, if you're not feeling what I'm saying, it doesn't mean that you're going to like somehow block yourself up with that feeling. It's not going to do any harm. This is a no harm really can be done sort of a modality, which is great. And like I said,
Yeah.
there's those borrowed benefits. So even if you have feelings about the negativity in the market right now, you might find shifts in other things in your life too as you work through this. So
Yeah.
another thing I always like to mention is before you do EFT, you should always make sure you're hydrated. So,
Yeah.
drink water,
Oh,
and afterwards we will have moved a decent amount of energy, and it's important to stay hydrated, no differently than if you worked out or did something strenuous.
awesome. Yeah.
The energy
And
gets
one
stored
thing,
in that water.
if I can still add, which I
Yeah.
may have already said, um, but I think that my biggest fear right now is like I have some pretty big, income goals as well. And like, how am I going to really make those happen through with a shifting market? Like, how can I continue to I've had a lot of growth over the past just several years. And so like there's a skepticism on like, can I really still do that when the market is changing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
We can put that
And I
in.
don't know if that's specific enough, but
Yeah, no. So basically, like, how can I keep up with my goals or
yeah.
continue
Yeah.
to level up with my earnings?
I
Yeah.
think that's it. Like when, yeah, and that could be opening possibilities to like different opportunities, not
Right. I was going to say
necessarily just working with
maybe it's something
clients, but
completely outside of real estate right now that's calling you, that requires your openness to it in order to be able to
Mhm.
have a different stream of income or a different way that this could come to you. I think when it comes to
right.
income, so often people are thinking like, but I have to do it through this one thing that I'm doing, that I'm striving and struggling and resisting, and like it's never going to happen. And it doesn't. But like there's so many ways, there's so much
Yeah.
abundance and so much possibility out there that if we just open up to that, then we can allow it to come. So it becomes more of
Yes.
that affirmation, like we talked about on the show, where it's like, what would it take for me to earn X amount of dollars this year? What would it take for
Yes.
me to be open enough to allow in things I haven't even thought about doing in
Mhm.
2023 so that my goals can actually come to fruition? And
Yes, totally.
giving that space for it too. All
Mhm.
right. So let's dig in on this. So the first thing we like to do with EFT is to rate how we're feeling. So with all of these things that we're talking about, which I guess we could call negative feelings about the current state of the market, is that a good summary of what we just kind of put out there?
Yeah, I think so. I think just like
So
economic, yeah,
yeah,
uncertainty
0 would
about,
be like the market's awesome, nothing could be better, things are perfect. And 10 is like completely and totally stressed out and frazzled by the state of things. Where are you in that 0 to 10?
I mean, if I'm being completely honest right now, I am a high functioning, anxious, anxiety filled person.
My
Um,
people.
so yeah. So right now, like I'm cool, calm, collected, but my anxiety level is at like an 8, probably. It's
Yeah.
pretty high.
Underneath the surface, it's all happening. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, good.
I'm like,
Thank you
I
for your
may show
honesty.
a calm, but underneath, yes.
We'll see what we can do about that 8 and where we
Okay.
can move
All
that
right.
to. It's all about seeing it at the end, like, okay, how do we feel now? And that doesn't mean that we will have solved your income goals or that anything's changed with the market or anything else. It's more like how you are internally regarding all of that. So we're going to start on the
Yes.
side of the hand, and then we're going to go through the points of the top of the head, the eyebrow, the side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, the collarbone, which is not actually the collarbone. It's like below it, the fleshy part. Like if you worked out
Oh,
yesterday and you
yeah.
did a chest workout, you're going to feel it, that
Got it.
area. And then under the arm, like where a bra strap would wrap around the side of your body. Those are our points. And all you got to do is follow the leader. I might throw in some eye rolls and some other stuff at the end. So just stay tuned.
Excellent.
Yes. All right. Even though the market has shifted a ton this year,
Even though the market has shifted a ton this year,
and business is so much different than it was,
and business is so much different than it was,
I want to love, accept, and forgive myself.
I want to love, accept, and forgive myself.
Even though I've done a lot of work about this kind of stuff,
Even though I've done a lot of work about this kind of stuff,
I feel like it should be more resolved inside of me by now.
I feel like it should be more resolved inside of me right now.
And I still feel so anxious about it all.
And I still feel so anxious about it all.
I honor these feelings and accept myself anyway.
I honor these feelings and accept myself anyway.
Even though there is so much negativity around the market right now.
Even though there's so much negativity around the market right now.
Negativity in the office.
Negativity in the office.
Negativity from buyers and sellers.
Negativity from buyers and sellers.
And negativity inside of me.
And negativity inside of me.
I want to love and accept myself anyway.
I want to love and accept myself anyway.
Now we're going to start going through the other points. So many shifts in the market this year.
So many shifts in the market this year.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to expand my reach.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to expand my reach.
Every time I turn on the news, it seems like the sky is falling.
Every time I turn on the news, it seems like the sky is falling.
Prices are dropping.
Prices are dropping.
Interest rates are increasing.
Interest rates are increasing.
People are not as happy to hear from me as they were last year.
People are not as happy to hear from me as they were last year.
And I can't stand all the negativity.
And I can't stand all the negativity.
So much of it is just people's belief systems.
So much of it is just people's belief systems.
And I don't want it to be the way I think about this.
And I don't want it to be the way I think about this.
But I'm worried too.
But I'm worried too.
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
How much higher can these rates actually get?
How much higher can these rates actually get?
How on earth am I going to stay relevant in this market?
How on earth am I going to stay relevant in this market?
How am I going to achieve the goals I have for the coming year?
How am I going to achieve the goals I have for the coming year?
Just feels like there's so much resistance, both inside and outside of me.
It just feels like there's so much resistance, both inside and outside of me.
And I don't know when this market is going to change.
And I don't know when this market is going to change.
Change for the better, at least.
Change for the better, at least.
I'm open to the idea that so many of these things that are troubling me are not a fact.
I'm open to the idea that so many of these things that are troubling me are not a fact.
And most of them could change any day.
And most of them could change any day.
But the uncertainty in that is part of what bothers me too.
But the uncertainty in that is part of what bothers me too.
But the fact is, there's always going to be people that are moving.
The fact is, there's always going to be people that are moving.
There's always going to be people that need a home.
There's always going to be people that need a home.
And I am a great person for them to work with when they have that need.
And I am a great person for them to work with when they have that need.
So I'm going to keep showing up for the people that need me.
So I'm going to keep showing up for the people that need me.
And stay focused on the goals that I have.
and stay focused on the goals that I have.
We have been through crazy ups and downs in the market before.
We have been through crazy ups and downs in the market before.
I've even been through them personally.
I've even been through them personally.
And here I am, still standing.
And here I am, still standing.
Still doing the real estate thing and still really liking it.
Still doing the real estate thing and still really liking it.
So the question is, what would it take to grow my team this year?
So the question is, what would it take to grow my team this year?
And how can I be that person that people are going to want to work with?
And how can I be that person that people are going to want to work with?
What would it take for me to be the best leader possible?
What would it take for me to be the best leader possible?
What would it take for me to open up to all the possibility for 2023?
What would it take for me to open up to the possibility for all of 2023?
All the different ways that I could achieve my goals.
All the different ways that I can achieve my goals.
What would it take for me to not be bothered by the ups and downs of this market?
What would it take for me to not be bothered by the ups and downs of this market?
I'm open to the idea that this change in the market doesn't have to be all negative.
And open to the idea that this change in the market doesn't have to be all negative.
That everything that happens in my life is perfectly aligned and right on time.
And that everything that happens in my life is perfectly timed and right on time.
Side of the thumb. With love,
With love,
compassion,
compassion,
middle finger, tolerance,
tolerance,
pinky, and understanding.
and understanding.
Back of the hand between the pinky and the ring finger. I now forgive myself for the power I have leaked to this negativity.
I now forgive myself for the power that I have leaked this negativity.
I am whole, complete, and powerful.
I am whole, complete, and powerful.
And I am a great service to those who need me.
And I am a great service to those who need me.
All right, now I want you to just look straight ahead and I want you to look hard down to the right, diagonally, and then back up to center, and then hard down to the left and back up to center. And now I want you to look up at the ceiling, like a 12 hand on the clock is up there. And we're going to go clockwise in a circle, hitting all of the hours on the clock as you roll your eyes around in a circle. And then when you get back up to the top, we're going to reverse and go counterclockwise. Just take it slow so you can really thoroughly go around your eyes. All right. And now we're just going to hum for a couple of seconds. Everybody knows happy birthday. So, and just count to 5 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then hum again for just a couple more seconds. All right. Now you can stretch, you can yawn, you can stop tapping if you want to. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Maybe hold it for a second before you exhale. And just, if there is anything remaining, just exhale it all out. I'll take this time to say that it's very normal to yawn, even like burp or anything else when you do this, because the energy release oftentimes just makes that happen. So sometimes people think it's weird. It's not weird. It's normal. So, all right. How are you feeling? What came up for you?
Wow. That was, so I feel better. I'm probably now at I'd say a 4,
Great.
which is
That is cutting it in half.
That's cutting in half.
Not bad for 10 minutes work.
Right. There you go. Yeah. So it's still underlying there a little bit, but yeah, significantly better.
Good.
And actually,
did you have any thoughts or revelations or aha moments that you can recall?
Not necessarily. I think the biggest shifts for me, I kind of feel it more Like the anxiety actually was in my kind of like throat and heart.
Okay.
Now I kind of feel it more in like my solar plexus and like a little bit below, and it's drastically reduced. So it kind of like
Good.
went down.
That's awesome. We didn't even touch on that
Literally.
beforehand. It's always a good idea to understand and to note where the feelings are showing up in your body, because that's something that, if you were moving on here, like if we were doing an actual session together, I'd be like, okay, so you went from an 8 to a 4. What's that for? Like, what is still left there for you that's making up the 4? And then you've said, like, you have this feeling and here it is. So maybe like if we were going to continue tapping, we'd be going into like, even though I still have this anxiety in my solar plexus, I love, accept, and forgive myself. And then maybe as we tap through those points, you'd be describing that pain that you have, the physical aspects of it, or maybe even like a texture or a color that you perceive it as, or whatever else, and allowing that to dissipate as the next layer to remove. And then it's a matter of, okay, now what's there? So it's just kind of like chasing the pain and the emotions to relieve and release them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So yeah, and I feel like um the questions that you kind of brought up and we talked about on the podcast, but then also that kind of got brought up during the session, like what would it take for me to, like, I think those I can already kind of like feel a resonance with those as and kind of incorporating them forward. So
Good. And those are one of my
I
favorite
feel like those are going to
practices.
really help quite a bit with like,
Yeah.
oh,
One
go
of my
ahead.
favorite
Sorry.
practices
Yeah,
is
I was
to,
just going to
sorry,
say,
there
I
was
feel
like a
like
little
it's going to help.
delay in the audio, and then I seemingly interrupted you, so I apologize for that. But one of my favorite
Okay.
things is to just take my voice recorder and to have all those different questions or affirmations, and I just, speak them passionately into the voice recorder on my phone, and then listen to them like in the morning when I wake up. And it just sets the tone for the day. It gets my brain and my subconscious on a mission and sets the intentions. So that's just a
Love that.
nice.
Have you ever used Think Up? Do you use that app?
I don't. I've downloaded it a few times and then never gotten past like actually starting to use it. But you are definitely
Okay.
not the first person that has recommended it. How do you like to use it?
So it's exactly what you're describing. So basically, now I think it's like $20 for the year. It's or 15 or something like
Yeah.
that. It's pretty nominal. But you basically speak the affirmations or
Yeah.
affirmations,
Hmm.
and then it records it in your own voice, and then you just play it back. So like I'll go on a walk and I'll just like listen to those, or when I'm in the car, I'll have those on repeat, and it
What
just
makes
kind
the
of
app special
grounds
or
me.
convenient? Because I've always just used the voice notes feature on my iPhone.
Well, honestly, it's probably there are a lot of you have access to based on the topics, like other affirmations or affirmations that people are
Okay. So
using. So they have like
suggestions.
lists. So for example, yeah, so like for health, but honestly, and just because it's like easy, it puts it to like a little
Sure.
bit of a music, and there's a little bit of like a music in the background, and it is
That's
easy, quite
nice.
frankly. That's the biggest thing about it. But you could certainly accomplish the same thing in voice notes. So
Yeah, that's
it's just
helpful.
that
I've
it
heard so
probably
many
puts
people say they love that app, and like I said, I've just never gotten past it because I was always like, oh, I know how to do this, and sometimes you just get stuck in the way of doing things that you
yeah.
already know.
Well, in the voice notes, does it kind of take it does it go to all of them at once? Can you play all of them at once?
No, I
Or is
guess
it
you
just
can't,
one at a
but
time?
it's really easy for me to pull a voice note out and then shove it into iTunes or whatever and play it
Got it.
there if I wanted
And
to
you play
like
it there.
create a playlist or something with them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I mean, if you do it that way, then you probably don't need the app. Um,
Yeah.
but that's probably
Sometimes
a
it's kind
simpler
of
way
like,
to
I
do
know
it.
you and I were talking about like virtual assistants and stuff beforehand, and it's like that whole like
Yeah.
time to get to know the new thing when it's like, I just want to keep going. Like, I don't want to like
Yes.
pause to learn a new thing. I just want to keep like talking my visualizations and affirmations and all that stuff and asking those questions to myself in the way that I know how. So, yeah, but
Yes.
sometimes you got to slow
Exactly.
down in order to speed up. And I talk about that all the time too. You got to, in order to get that traction, sometimes you got to reduce the speed a little bit. And yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for tapping along with me and sharing all of those feelings. I'm so glad you got a shift out of it. For people who are listening and doing this along with us, obviously you've hopefully listened to the podcast episode, but if you haven't, you can learn a lot more by listening to the episode that goes with this, which if you're grabbing this from the Private Sessions book is linked right below it. And I love hearing from people. So if you tapped along with us and you got a shift or you had a cool realization or something, email me, Theresa@theresalearlevine.com, and tell me about it. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thank you for having me on the show, Kara, and for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. And thank you. This was a real treat. And I appreciate you taking me through this process. I've learned a lot as well.
Yeah, thanks.